setting expectations for certainty. Now, we spoke about uncertainty and leveraging that to create this feeling of love, significance, and contribution, right? Now, we're going the other way with certainty, where if you have a partner that works away, you have to have a level of certainty around when they're going to have access to their phone, what sort of work they're doing, and a routine around when they contact you. We need that certainty in our lives to feel safe within ourselves and within our relationships. So a good example is I had a friend who had a partner working at one of the dodgiest underground mines in WA. So they didn't have any certainty, they didn't have any routine, there wasn't clear expectations set around, okay, you work high risk, you work in this place where there's a lot of earthquakes underground, where there's a lot of risk. What happens if you don't come out of the hole? What happens if something happens down there and you have to get in a refuge chamber and I don't hear from you? They had nothing set up. Now, obviously, that's very high risk. For a lot of people, there's going to be minimal chance you're going to have to get into a refuge chamber, but one day it happened. One day it happened, and 6 hours after their usual call at night, she realized, oh shit, something's wrong. He's not responding, he's not picking up calls, I can't get in touch with him. And so there was no expectation set around, okay, if I do not respond, here is the number for my supervisor, here is the number for site to make sure that I'm safe. And so they went through this commotion. She finally got in touch and they said, oh, I'm sorry, we didn't get in touch with you, we didn't know what your number was. They're actually in the mine right now in a refuge chamber. We're working on getting them out safely. Now you can imagine how much of a shock to the system that was, the fear and the worry and overwhelm, understandably right, that comes with that. Now that could have been avoided to some extent if they would have had a system in place or a process or set clear expectations. Now this goes the same the other way. Set clear expectations as the FIFO worker with your partner. Setting this up and saying, hey, maybe you work at a gas plant. Hey, I work at a gas plant. I'm not gonna be able to text you all day. I'm not gonna be able to answer your calls all day. And you don't have access to your phones. That's 10 hours every day that you're not going to be able to communicate with your partner. Now, if you've got a partner who needs to be in touch with you all the time and you don't communicate that, you don't have access to your bloody phone, that's going to be an issue. So you want to set realistic expectations that create certainty there. So this partner, maybe they have trust issues. Setting that creates certainty for this person in the brain, knowing it constantly looks for threat, ways to prove that we're unsafe. It can say, oh, okay, they're not messaging, but it's not because they're avoiding me. It's not because they're messaging someone else. It's because 10 hours a day, they're not allowed their phone because it's a risk of ignition. Something like that, something as simple as that, right? Identify these different times, different areas, and different reasons why you're not going to be able to communicate or why you should communicate in a certain way. Doing that, we leverage certainty because certainty becomes repetitive, monotonous, right? We leverage certainty to our benefit and to the benefit of our partner, whether that's the FIFO worker or the FIFO partner at home.